All right, we are back another week. Rivals run back the final week, at least of the regular season. I don't even know. We'll still call it Rivals run back next week, but more of a award show going into finals and whatnot. But either way, after week 7, Rivals run back here as always. Husky, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Finished up the regular season, getting ready for playoffs. Got the four teams who made it in playoffs, and it should be two banger series coming up this week. Um, Definitely some games that went a little sideways. Some weird things happening here. We're gonna see that in the power rankings for each position. Maybe some things a little bit different than you might have seen because of the way teams played. But it makes it more interesting. So that's always fun.
Yeah, of course. We have to keep the tradition every week as upsetting some people and being wrong and whatnot. That's just how it goes, right? That's why we're here. Uh, the disclaimer, maybe we should say every week, but we were talking it amongst ourselves a little bit. This is you know, I think about it like college sports, how the rankings change week to week based on kind of that week's performance weighted, across the year and whatnot. It's not a every week we think this player is just at its ceiling, the best player XYZ. It's kind of how the award show goes and whatnot. That's how you rank those people, but it wouldn't really change week to week if we just did who do we think's the actual best person, regardless of how they did. So, um, power rankings kind of week-ish to week. So let's kick off with the boring but not boring stuff, right? The results of week 7, last week of regular season. Rivals League split 3. 2-0s across the board. BLM 2-0 over Patriots. Some say an upset, some people not. Uh, 2-0 in favor of GCCE over Dude Crew, the streamed match of the week, to take that 4th seed spot for GCCE. And then the 2-0 between the two teams that most people have had in their top 3 all split. NOH take the 2-0 victory over Conduit Omega. Uh, to kick it off, top to bottom, Husky, how are you feeling about these results?
Well, I think that this is probably, and it's only been three splits, so I mean, not the hugest sample size ever. But have we ever had the number one and the number two team in the standings both get 2-0'd in the same week? It just happened, and I can't remember it happening. But Patriots and Conduit kind of go into the last week both fighting for that number one seed and just get stomped by the teams they're facing. So I guess no one wanted that number one seed. But definitely surprising seeing that outcome. Certainly no offense to New Origins Hanmoon or Braum Lives Matter, but these were the number two seeds going to the last week for a reason. So for them to get steamrolled so easily was very surprising to me.
Yeah, I was like, they weren't battling for first seed. It's like they were battling for second seed, and who wanted it more. 3 teams going for it. Of course, the match at the top, I guess didn't shake up the standing. The BLM ended up getting 5th seed. With all the drama, FF in games and whatnot. That week 5 FF that they could have played, kind of coming back to bite them. Had they won that week, they actually would have squeezed into playoffs, I think. So, unfortunately, they ended up in that 5th seed spot uh, with their 2-0 victory. Patriots felt like they should have dropped down to second seed, but NOH pulling out that 2-0 victory kept Conduit down as well. I think they actually jumped Conduit, but kind of the battle for the second, third seed didn't really matter other than for side selection. So NOH got a little bit of a extra point there, I guess. And then most people had GCC taking the 2-0 over Dude Crew, the winless on the Rift team. So that results in their split being over. We can just go right into the standings, as I've kind of touched on it a little bit. Here's how all those results shook out the standings as far as going into playoffs. Of course, 1 through 4 seeds making playoffs. Patriots stay at 1 despite the 0-2. New Origins Hanmoon jump up to number 2, the second seed after their 2-0 victory. Conor Omega dropping to 3 after their loss, and then GCC securing their 4th seed with that win. If you can think back, all of almost 2 months ago, Is this how you thought it would be, Husky? Is it at least pretty close to what we were thinking before the split even started?
Yeah, I think everyone, unless you had a specific allegiance to one of those bottom three teams, had these as the top three teams. They kind of thought that it was going to shake out one, two, three in some order. So it makes sense with all teams tying basically at 5-2. Obviously, based off game record, they're seated appropriately. But for all intents and purposes, we thought these were going to be the top three. They were. Thought it was going to be a battle for that fourth seed. Um, and, you know, I thought it could have been everyone. I think it did work out to be a really good team in GCCE there that could definitely pull off an upset here in the playoffs, but um, kind of was what we were all expecting here, at least for me. That was what I was expecting.
Okay, okay. I think the top three are no surprise as far as being in the top three. The order could have shaken up any which way, and I wouldn't have been too surprised of how it would have ended. But the top three makes sense to me. And then BLM and GCC were in the mix as far as being, could they be third seed, could they be fourth seed, who will be fifth seed? Uh, so I think for the most part, at least as far as like kind of the tiers went, um, and unfortunately, Dude Crew came in as the lowest pointed team. Most people had them at six. They ended up getting six. So appreciate them coming out. Just the roster not stacking up to this kind of the top tier here this time. But I think overall, as far as kind of the three tiers ish, I'd say, um, kind of what was expected. I still think, BLM, maybe they wouldn't have done all that stuff that they did. They probably would have been, knocking on the doors of the top two, but we may never know. And then GCC, I think in the 3-4-5 realm makes sense. Not to say they can't win it all. I still think all four teams that made playoffs can definitely win it all. But as far as the standing shaking out, I think makes sense to me. I don't remember. I think it's a little bit differs a little bit for how the power rankings shook out after 7 weeks. We can take a look at our power rankings. I'd say actually
I think
a
this was
decent change.
this was this is a pretty big change here. When we were looking at this earlier, I mean, the number one team, at least the number one seed, let's say, the Patriots, for as the four seed in the power rankings, that is I think that's a spicy take there, right there. I'm not saying I disagree with it, by the way, but definitely you don't usually see the team that ended number one with the best record be rated in the bottom half of the league of the power rankings. So definitely something to watch out right there. Conduit, defending champs, did have a down week, obviously losing to NOH. But, were they trying? I think they were in game one at the very least. Game two, probably not. But they're going to keep one. New NOH go into two here. I think it was pretty close. It could have gone either way. BLM, despite missing out, the way they beat the Patriots definitely puts them in the conversation in that top three. And then Dude Crew, unfortunately, going to pull up the last. So I guess 5 was just kind of open for GCCE at that point.
Yeah, I 1-2 toss a coin, could have went either way. I think most people have them in the top two, at least top three. Uh, Brown Lives Matter is kind of that wild card, of course, with everything how it shook out and whatnot. So um, ranking them as if it's power rankings, right? So regardless of what their record is and all that fun stuff, if every team started right now 0-0, where do we think they would be? We have BLM at 3. Yeah, Patriots at 4. Of course, that's the circle. You have number one seed down there at 4. Now, of course, 1, 2, and 3 seed all have the same match record, so you could say it's almost like a three-way tie. So then, if you look at it that way, maybe you could say, well, Patriots, they're just about the third seed, and we ranked them at 4th, so it's not that big of a jump. But that's a bunch of shoulda, woulda, couldas, I guess, right there. GCC at 5. I think it was mentioned maybe in the interview. Quick little shout out to BLM kind of giving GCC that bump up to secure that playoff spot. But yeah, there's a power rank. It feels kind of weird, and we'll talk about it when we get to the predictions at the end. Um, our at least our power rankings, number one versus number two, play against each other in the first round of playoffs, and our fourth and fifth power ranked teams play against each other. So we'll talk about it when we get to the predictions on whether or not we're gonna have another semifinals. That's really the finals type situation. Uh, but yeah, through all 7 regular season weeks, that's how the team power rankings shook out. I believe now it's for that time. Which role are we gonna do first, as far as the 5 roles for power rankings? The last and final. I believe the final time we'll do power
Oh
rankings.
my god.
Oh,
Did
Poodle sleeping.
did Poodle lose for the first time?
You can blame it on the
I
time since
mean,
we've moved it up. Uh,
okay, okay.
but it looks like 80 carry going to come out first. I do believe this will be the last time we do actual power rankings because next week will be the award show, so it'll be a little bit different. But um, through 7 weeks, 80 carry power rankings. Here we go, kicking it off. Nike Dragon at 1, going to stay 1. Neon Sword jumping up from 4 up to second. Concrete at 3, going to stay 3. Intelligence dropping down to 4th. Sniper at 5, going to stay 5. And Stank subbing in this week, not previously ranked, going to come in at 6th. The easy one, I'll start at the bottom. Interesting week for them. Of course, after that game 1, their season was essentially over, so game 2 was maybe for fun. Pulled out that Lee Sin. In that game 2, played super aggressive, tried to get some stuff done, but appreciate them stepping in at least in the final week. And Sniper at 5th, we kind of said all split. This was one of the more stacked roles. Sniper definitely had some solid weeks. If I can find the correct thing, definitely some solid weeks. They played all sorts out of order in game 2, so kind of a weird ranking for a lot of players this week with subs, with people playing out of order. So Snipe. Wait, am I tripping? Did I
No,
type the wrong name
Sniper.
in?
I mean, Sniper played mid in game 2,
I think
didn't play
that's
game
why.
1, but
Maybe that's
yeah.
why. Oh, even I did it wrong. Okay. Either name you would have put there, I think maybe we would have put the same thing. I don't know. Thundermaster played 80 carry. Maybe that's why I'm tripping myself up. Sniper didn't play 80 carry this week. He played 1 game of mid and then was not there for game 1. So was supposed to be Thundermaster, I think. So blame production on that one. Either way, GC is gonna be rocking that 5th spot for 80 carry at least this week.
Yeah, I mean, so there was some weird out of position in this series. People playing weird positions, only playing 1 game. There was another series where a bunch of people only played 1 game. So a lot of times we did kind of default to who had been playing that position most of the season, just because they were going to get really crazy for the rankings. But for those in chat, Thunder did play a great ADC. No hating on that, but just because of that, Skybird played most of the season is kind of where he ended up here. So, like I said, Sniper at 5, Intelligence at 4 did have a little bit of a drop there. They did get 2-0'd, so definitely going to be a drop for a lot of Patriots on these lists. At the top, you have those 2 guys that had great weeks: Nike Dragon, Neon Sword. Both won their series 2-0. Both had great games, taking down some higher ranked teams there. So definitely, when you're the carry, your team's winning against high ranked teams, you're going to go high in the power rankings.
Yeah, I don't think Intelligence had a bad week by any means. Obviously, it was a rough week overall for their team, but the 80 carry top 3 kind of being stacked and also having better weeks, I'd say. As these top 4 have been fairly close, all split, or at least top 3 before all the fiasco. So falling to 4, not falling that far, but because they're so close, it's gonna fall to 4. Yeah, that's on me. Apologies, Thundermaster. I even on my rankings I put Sniper, so it's hey, that's okay. We get one. We get one every week, right? That's the one. That's that Sniper favoritism that we had to bring out this week. Uh, Concrete at 3, gonna stay 3. got 0-2'd. I don't think had like a terrible week by any means. Just kind of like middle of the road stat line, like 4-6 and 6-7. Um, Not enough to drop below the top three, but I think it was pretty close. I think 3 and 4 were kind of a toss up. If we would have put Thunder Master on the list, Thunder probably would have slotted in at 3, but who knows? Don't quote me on that. So a false 3 for Thunder Master. Uh, Top 2, Neon Sword at 2, gonna jump back up. Kind of a the FF week kind of threw their whole ranking system out of whack. But them slotting in at 2, 1. What was it? Perfect game, right? On the Caitlyn. Yeah, Caitlyn. 4-0-4, and then the Ash, an 8-3 stat line. So solid performance there. And the Nike Dragon going to stay at number 1. Going to be tough when you win 2-0, especially against a top 2 team, to drop from the number 1 spot. So going to wrap up the split at number 1 for Nike.
Yeah, also on the sniper thing, I just want to point out the only reason I put it there is because I wanted to hear CB try to say his name again. So, there's that.
Okay. I think I don't remember. I think you did your rankings first. That's why, huh? That's what it was. That's
Yeah, okay.
I looked at who you put on the list, so I was like, so it's really Husky's fault. All right, there you have for your bot lane power rankings through 7 weeks of the regular season. What role should be next? We'll see if we have any other potential typos. Hopefully not. We'll see how it goes. Next role going to be jungle. See what we have for our week 7 jungle power rankings. Rivals League split 3 at 1, going to be key, jumping up from the number 2 spot, as well, going to jump up from 3 to 2. GCC Tauroma jumping up from 4 to 3, giving up that number 4 spot. Finally, Eyesight going to drop from 1 down to 4. Pelly Penguin, after not playing last week, I think it was kind of the double ding, I guess. They lost 0-2 after Pelly not playing. So going to slot in at 5th. And then Jonicus has number 6 on lock once again. So DC, I assume most of their players, after kind of an interesting week and, for the most part going winless through the split, going to slot into a lot of these 6 spots, unfortunately. Pelly Penguin maybe is the one that was slightly tougher to rank, because game 2 I think it was that looked kind of decent, but game 1 the donut dropped on the Wukong after a bye week is really why they slotted in at 5.
Yeah, definitely a little bit rough for them. Like you said, Jonicus, unfortunately, going to be in that 6. We have Eyesight, the big faller of the week. Unfortunately, when you lose 2-0, that kind of happens. Nothing too crazy. It was 4-5, 3-4. So, I mean, certainly not terrible. Just not what we have seen this player do in the past. So there is that.
Yeah, it was I think you touched on it a little bit. Rough week for Patriots, and you can say upset, you can say nah, I don't know, but yeah, definitely a big fall there, down from the number 1 spot. I think 1 and 2 were already pretty close with each other, but had an okay stat line, I'd say. Zinzao and Poppy, but gonna drop down to 4. Tauroma jumping up into the 3, and my connection keeps going in and out, so apologies if it lags a little bit, but so far I think we're chilling. Tauroma jumping up into 3 finally. Been knocking on the door for a while. Pulled out what was it, the silo support game, right, in the game 2, but game 1 did play. The one that mattered, played jungle.
Yes.
On the patented J4, and looked really solid there in the 6-2 performance. So going to be slotted in at 2. Comet's going to be maybe a theme here with all the roles on the Brown Lives Matter players, just because of the off week in week 5 and the last week. But Kama ending up here at 2 through 7 weeks, pulled out. Trundle, I've been seeing a lot of Trundle split. Trundle 4-2, and then was it the Volley Bear? Yeah, 5-5. So slightly better than third and fourth. I think they were kind of in a close-ish tier, at least in my opinion. And then Key slotting in at 1. I'd say maybe a bigger gap right now between like 1 and 2, and then 2, 3, 4 are all really close, with 5 normally in that tier. Just kind of an interesting 2 weeks, but um, Key, I forget which champs Key pulled out in their 2-0 victory, but the
There was
Mundo.
a 10 kill Mundo in there. Yeah, that's
Bunch of KSs, right? I also had 18 assists, so it was just involved in everything. 28
that's
out of 33
yeah,
KP.
14 KDA. That's gonna get you number one usually when you drop something like that in a game. So
True. So much deserved there. I think was in the number 1 spot for a while this split, and made their way back up to 1. So far 2 roles and 2 NOH players at number 1. Can we keep the streak alive? That's it for your jungle power rankings through 7 weeks. 3 roles left. Which one should be next? As there we go. Finally, the best role comes through. Support, of course. Up next, support power rankings through 7 weeks. Star Ravenfire jumping up from 3 to 1. Death Knight dropping from 1 to 2. Poodle dropping from 2 to 3. Sapphire at 4, going to stay 4. Perfect Timer and Adrian Legitness also going to stay in their respective spots at 5 and 6. So a little bit of a shakeup just in the top half, though.
yeah, I think this was the position, CB, that you and I had the most change on here. If I look at where we both ranked everything, there was a lot different in our
Yeah.
rankings. We did unfortunately both agree Adrian was going to be sixth here.
Like 1
But
and 6, right? Or no?
yeah, we had 1 and 6 both the same, Star Raven, Adrian, and then in between lots of variance there. Um, I would say that all those players close to each other. I would even go as far to say that, Star Raven had a great week, and that's why they were the clear number one. But I think that this is one of those positions that you look around and for the season, very, very close throughout. So, yeah, Star Raven had a great week. I think Perfect Timer was criminally underrated in the support power ranking. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
Uh, did play one game, did play one game of support. Kind of went a little crazy. Pretty good game from them. So 5 seems a little low for me, but it wasn't
True.
just me making this. So
True. Yeah.
don't shoot the messenger here.
It was technically, I guess, a 4-way tie between 2, 3, 4, and 5 this week. Uh, but since Husky and I disagreed on all 4 of them, it came down to the average, which made it the tie. And then after you do the tie, then it goes to kind of what order were they in last week. And so it was a drastic difference. And this isn't exactly either one of our individual rankings, but it's that way we can both equally have question marks about it. But yeah, Perfect Timer had probably the best game individually at support this week. Only played the 1 game of support. I think they also played the number 6 team. When you compare that to like Poodle, who had, you could say, a worse week than Perfect Timer, but also played who we have at number 1 in the support role. So that holds some weight where they were previously ranked. You can't. I don't think we've ever had anyone jump from like 6 to 1. Maybe we've had like 5 to 2. I don't know if we've had from a 5 to a 1 jump, anything like that. But yeah, I don't know. This one was definitely a tough one, and yeah, one of our most disagreed on ones. But that's okay. We can all be wrong together. Sapphire Gym and Death Knight. That was one of the tougher ones for me because stat-wise, we're really close. We watched game 2. Or I watched game 2. I don't remember if you're in there. I have a bad memory.
Yeah, I watched it.
Okay, yeah. That was 2 days ago. Who remembers? That one looked really close to me as far as the support performances. Of course, obviously, stat lines only tell half the story. Uh, but the victory nod went to Sapphire Gym, but Death Knight also played pretty decent, I'd say, as far as the gameplay went. They ended up resulting in them a tie since they were 1-4, so it just brought them to a tie, I guess. And then Poodle, uh, I think you jinxed it, you cast or cursed it, all split by saying Poodle was going to stay at 1. Obviously, there's um, what connection diff other weeks or whatever you want to say, subbing and all that fun stuff that Con and Omega did throughout the split. So stayed top 3 nonetheless. I think maybe the only support that stayed top 3, so we'll stick with that one. But no, still a solid performance. Kind of a similar between Death Knight and Sapphire Gym. Star Raven and Poodle had similar-ish performances, um, but I think Star Raven, at least in my opinion, was probably the most consistent every week support throughout the split. So I think that's why, at least for me, Star Raven gets the number 1 nod.
Yeah, I don't know about the most consistent week in, week out, but I would
Oh,
say that they had the best week last week. So
I think highest 4.
number one number one got the nod for me this last week.
Okay. Hey, we're just spitballing. We're spitballing. Your number 1 somewhere in the top 3 probably. As long as we got
That's
close.
true. That's true.
All right, that is
Somewhere in the
your
top 6.
in the top 6 at least. I don't know why my connection is being so bad. So if you're missing anything, hopefully the VOD's big chilling whenever it gets uploaded later tonight. All right, support power rankings through week 7, and that is what we got. We have 2 roles left. It's the 2 solo laners. Do people care about solo
It
laners?
is. No one cares.
They're,
But I
they're,
guess we'll do it anyways.
they're just playing for themselves, right? Mid lane, top lane, which one should be next, and or which one should we, wait and do last? Or we just pick one. Who knows? Toss a coin. Eeny, meeny, miny. Oh, I'm just gonna pick one.
No,
See, there you
okay.
go.
Pandos
Appreciate it.
is mid.
Appreciate
Pandos
it.
is
Mid lane it is. We'll save top 4. Last mid lane power rankings through 7 weeks. Pandorum going to stay at number 1. The controversial take. Some were saying. I wasn't saying it. Some were saying it though. At 1 going to stay 1. Joker going to jump up from 3 to 2. Drakenrich as well going to jump up from 4 to 3. Nightmare as well going to jump up from 5 to 4. All those jumping up because St. Nash they're dropping from 2 down to 5th. And then Full Shield going to stay at number 6. So I don't remember how much we differed here. At least 1 and 6 stayed the same this week, and then 2 through 5 were really the shakeups. And it looked like most people just kind of bumped up because they play solid performances once again. And then St. Nash is, I guess, the one that's circled as maybe I don't even think had a bad week. If I remember correctly, Galio and something else. Uh, Galio and Ari, like not even a bad week. I think only having played a couple of the weeks and having some really solid performances. Uh, I don't know, some would say it was either ranked too high or the other people had some off weeks, or either way came in at the perfect time and played well enough to stay in that kind of top 2-3 conversation. Yeah, it was 2 last week. And so after this week, with some more solid performances from the other 3 members that jumped St. Nash, that's why he dropped down to 5. I still think, it's good company to have, right, in that tier. And I don't even know, mid lane might not be one that's really a 3-tiered role. I don't know your thoughts on how this one's really tiered up, or is it can even tier this role? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that first off, shout out to our guy in Pando up there at number 1. I would not think that he would have been number 1 week, to be honest. Love the guy, but would not have had him number 1 on any week. This is his second week up there and played well again. Definitely, looking at that score line, deserved staying up in number 1 there. You could say that, maybe not the number 1 mid laner for the whole year, but if you just look at the last couple weeks, deserved to be ranked up there. So great job by him. With that being said, it is kind of hard to rank them and put them into those tiers that you were talking about, just because of that. I do think that Joker, Drakenrich, and Nightmare probably week in, week out, one of them was popping off harder than anyone else in this league on a more consistent basis. So maybe those are the top three, but Pandorum making a push. We didn't see a ton out of St. Nash. They did have a down week, but it was only 1 week. So I think playoffs is going to be really interesting here for how mid lane's going to shake out.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, yeah, I agree. Shout out Pandora in the mid lane. I only played the one game this week, I think, but it was a Galio and popped off, I do believe. So enough to stay at
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3 were the other two that were at least in the running for number one this week. I think top three, if you, I guess we're just looking at this week, that would be one tier kind of as all three of those players had really solid weeks in my opinion. Joker, he played what one game mid, one game top, right?
One game. Yeah.
Well, I could call in Abessa, I think maybe two carry champs. Yeah, I still think he had a solid week. Some say he had a not as high performance as other weeks, but I still think he had a really solid week. Going to be enough at 2. And Jack and Rich kind of in the same boat as Joker had a really solid week in their 2-0 victory. And then Nightmare and St. Nash kind of similar-ish weeks as far as they got 0-2'd. They didn't do anything terrible, but they also just kind of had a middle of the road week in my opinion. And then Full Shield, I don't remember. Oh yeah, pull out the Caitlyn. The Caitlyn didn't, you could say didn't do anything special or whatever. Also didn't hard feed, I guess, but also hard carry the team at damage. I mean, the game wasn't super close, but as far as damage was doing what they could on the Caitlyn mid, and the Annie the other game. So, um, yeah, I don't know if maybe the top three would have shaken up in my mind, but other than that, everything feels good to me. I don't know how much we differed on this one, but I think it was pretty close. Um,
I think we just had 1 and 2 flip from each other, but everything else was the same.
okay, close enough. If you're not
It was
one,
close
number
enough.
two, same thing, right? If you ain't first or last, I don't know. All right, that's what we have. Mid lane power rankings through 7 weeks. That must mean, I guess we'll do top lane next. Top lane power rankings. Rivals League split 3, week 7 at number 1. Swapping number 1 and number 2 swapping. Storm jumping up from 2 to 1. BK's going from number 1 to number 2. Omni Man, the one, I think the only sub maybe that made the list this week. Only played the one game, but hey, people were whispering why has Omni Man not made more appearances. We'll see if they end up playing any in playoffs or not. Sticks to that sub role, but came in and played really well in their one game. Gonna slide in at 3. Stoic at 4. Gonna stay 4. Roy Dismayed didn't play either game last week. I don't think. I think it was Wall Street. So not ranked last week. Gonna slot in at 5. Kind of a similar boat to Pelly Penguin situation, I think. And then Macho making their top lane of the split debut instead of AD Carry going top lane, and that was a series, I'd say. So gonna slot in there at 6th. To me, this one's, I guess it's kind of weird just because we have Omni Man in there, one of the only subs, I think, only sub of the week that we put in there. But other than that, to me, being 100% biased, I guess it's tough. Hey, it's tough to argue this list, but you can kick us off from either the top or the bottom, whichever way you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just call a spade a spade. Macho, stay as an ADC man. Definitely a talented player. We have seen Macho pop off. We have seen Macho carry games. We have seen Macho get to the finals. We did not see any of that in their top lane debut, unfortunately. So a little rough. Roy, uh, kind of just a tough series. You took a week off, came back. Didn't do too bad on the set, 8-6-2, but the Scion did leave a little bit to be lacking at 1-5, so going to be a little bit lower there. And yeah, I mean, maybe for Stoic feels a little bit bad as they did end up winning, but not good or bad. I guess kind of mid, 2-4 on the Mordekaiser, 4-3 on the Shen. Feels like that's kind of in the middle. Omni-Man, not a lot to go off of, like you said, only one game. Did have a perfect KDA though, so
True.
kind of kind of hard not to have them in the top three when you're going to do that. And then we talk about it all the time. Storm and BKs, even in the loss, BKs had pretty good KDAs, so definitely deserving to be up there, even with the loss. But probably because of the loss of Storm jumping up to number one. And also, I mean, it doesn't hurt when Storm pops off 12 kills on Vayne.
Yeah, people were whispering pentakill. I don't know. I didn't put eyes on it, but we'll wait and see. Maybe we'll see one next week. Uh, Makes sense to me. Gonna jump up to number one. I think if Omni Man maybe would have played like both series, obviously they didn't need to in the game two and whatnot. I guess for different reasons, multiple reasons, I guess. Could have even cracked top two. As, Patriots overall had a down week, so BK's like 2 and 3. I think were pretty close this week. Even 4 maybe knocking on the door as well. Um, but I don't. It didn't look like or feel like BLM won through top lane by any means. So I still think that was why BK's got the nod over Stoic this week, and then Roydus I think had one solid game and one not so solid
Yeah, there
game.
one solid game, one not so solid game.
Those are my stuff. Yeah, so uh, played really well in the set. It looked like, granted, Scion stat line doesn't mean much of anything. One in CS, at least, but got the O2 loss, and then coming off of not playing last week, it's kind of what they slotted in at 5. And I'd agree. Was it the Mel? Did the Mel end up going top? I forget. We streamed it. We
It
streamed it
did,
all 2
yeah,
days ago.
yeah.
So
It was the melt up, yeah. Felt a little bad having Mel in that top lane, so
true.
maybe not the best for Macho. Keep it in the bot lane.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I guess since it's there, split is over, so we'll see. Maybe it's the transition over to top lane. Who knows? We'll see. That's it. We have for top lane power rankings through 7 weeks. Last but not least, in our last 5 minutes or so, predictions. So now it's we're only looking at 2 different series. On to playoffs. Conduit Omega versus New Origins Hanmoon. NOH has the side selection for game 1, I do believe. And then Patriots taking on GCCE. Patriots have the side selection. Only these 2 series. Obviously, the 2 teams have been knocked out now. Some people are saying one series is the pre-finals. Some people are saying the other series is the pre-finals. Well, I mean, we'll see. Make it official. I do believe we're going to go with Conduit Omega versus New Origins Hanmoon as the streamed match. I'm going to see. Maybe I can find somebody to stream the other series, but I know at least we will be streaming the Conduit Omega versus NOH. You kick it off. Which one? I mean, what are you thinking? What are your predictions?
Yeah, let's start off at the top there. So we saw these 2 teams play each other twice now in the regular season. One of the times was a 2-1 Conduit win, and then just last week, a little bit different, but New Origins won 2-0. So 1-1 between the 2 teams in their 2 meetings. So I think it's going to be close. I think that could probably go either way, but I am going to lean towards the defending champs in this one. And until they lose, I think it's kind of a prove me wrong type of thing. And I know they just lost last week, but it's different in a 5-game series. They really popped off last year, popped off all split. So I'm going Conduit, but I think it's close. So I'm going 3-2 Conduit Omega.
Okay. So you think we're going to have a late night on Sunday? We're going all 5 games. Okay.
That's my prediction. Yeah.
You know, I was thinking that this one would be 5 games as well. My concern now that because I was thinking 3-2 in favor of NOH. That's what I was feeling. Obviously, it's 1-1 as far as their head-to-head goes, but subs and all that different stuff. Um, I'm a little concerned about NOH's champion pool potentially getting into games 4 and 5. Um, through and through, Conduit Omega has the higher floor, I think, but I don't know. NOH might have a higher ceiling. Who knows? Maybe I'm just making stuff up, but uh, I'm gonna say we're gonna go game 5, but I'm gonna say NOH pulls out this this victory and goes on to the finals. So either way, we're thinking both of us are gonna think it's a long night, but I'm gonna rock NOH. You'll go Conduit, and we'll see who's correct.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Uh, Patriots versus GCCE. This one, if you asked me a few weeks ago, uh, I'd say Patriots for sure. But last few weeks, I mean, obviously they played a couple weeks ago and it wasn't super close. I still don't know if that was Patriots like best games ever and GCCE's worst games ever, um, compared to like both their kind of average gameplay type thing. Uh, so I think it's gonna be close. Uh, I I still think in a 5 game series, Patriots take it, but I think it's going to be close. Is it close enough to go 5? I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say Patriots in 5. I think it's gonna be close. If one team wins 3-0, 3-1, I don't think 3-0. I think 3-1. Either team could definitely win 3-1. Uh, but because of how it went when they actually faced each other, I'm gonna go Patriots. But I think it's gonna be a close one.
Okay. I could see it going either way. Um, but these teams only face each other once, and it was pretty one-sided Patriots. People have bad weeks, people have good weeks, but they are rocking the same roster, so there were roster swaps, but the ones that they're going to be trotting out in the playoffs, at least you would think so, are the ones that the Patriots won with. So because of that, I'm going to go Patriots here. I think it's going to be over in 4, though, so I'm going 3-1 Patriots in this one.
Sheesh. Okay. Okay. It feels like a perfect storyline for GCC to prove us both wrong and it to be potentially two teams in finals that did not win either split. I guess we have the option for it to be Conduit versus Patriots and the two previous champs, or maybe a mix, or maybe, hey, two new unique finalists going on. Or I guess not unique finalists, but unique champ. Who knows? We'll see. All right, there you have it. We both pick Patriots. We will both be correct or both be wrong. Who knows? We'll see on Sunday. All right, last minute to go. I thought I had something. Uh, tomorrow, either tomorrow or the next day, the awards voting will come out, um, as well as pick'ems and kind of our regular stuff that comes out. Those will be due probably Saturday. Next week on Tuesday will be the award show, and then we'll, if nothing else, we'll see everybody Sunday. NOH versus CEO on stream, best of 5 series playoffs. Any parting words, Husky?
I'm just expecting 2 good series, and I think that there is some pretty good parity in the league this split. So maybe one team wasn't quite at the level of the other ones, but overall, lots of good games, and it's going to be interesting. I don't think that there's a guaranteed winner going into these playoffs, so it'll be really interesting to see how it all plays out, and I'm excited for it.
True. My my one hope is that finals is a super close series and we don't have another semifinals as the actual finals type situation. But hey, we'll see. I think all 4 teams could potentially win it all. So that was the goal, and I think we made it. So, all right, that's all we got for tonight. If nothing else, be on the lookout for some content, awards voting, and see you Sunday.
Have a good one, guys.